Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1998 Represent. On this episode, we're taking a look at Ronin. This is an action thriller film. Let me see, bring my notes out here. First release September 12th, 1998. That's at the Venice Film Festival. And then it was released to a wider release, at least in North America or in the United States, on September 25th, 1998. And I think my friend and I saw this on the opening weekend. I don't think we saw it like on the Friday, but we saw it on, I believe it was like on a Sunday. Took the bus over to the local theater. I think it was like a 4-screen theater at the time. I think it's now up to 6 screens. But yeah, it was like a 2-screen theater back in the early 90s. They split it up into 4 screens later on, and then they moved the theater and added in more screens after that. But saw this opening weekend and thought it was a really fun movie. Like really, the action in the movie is really good. The story moves along pretty well. It's just about like a couple hours long. I feel if it was released today, it would probably be longer, like closer to like 2.5 hours if it was like coming out now. But it's got a great just ensemble cast. Some great scores, some great car chases. We'll discuss that all a little bit later in the video. But let me bring up my notes here for it. So, like I said, the cast is amazing. Let me actually just bring up the cast here because it's a pretty large cast here. So, the main star of the film is Robert De Niro. So basically, I'm just going to go through the cast. We have Robert De Niro, Jean Reno. Not sure if I'm going to pronounce this name correctly, but Natasha McElhorn, I think is how it's pronounced. You have Stellan Skarsgård. I probably mostly know him from the Marvel Cinematic Universe films. You have Sean Bean. I think this is like the second Sean Bean movie I saw, kind of like a couple years after I had seen GoldenEye. You have Jonathan Pryce, who is interesting in this movie because a year earlier, or not quite a year earlier, but late, like in 1997, he played the main villain in Tomorrow Never Dies, the second Pierce Brosnan James Bond film. And it's just a great cast. Like I said, Sean Bean is in this, and I remember Sean Bean from because I only seen the movie once in theaters back like 25 years ago almost, and then watched it again just earlier today. It's on HBO Max now. Watched it there. And I remember Sean Bean from back when I first saw it being a bigger part of the movie, and he's literally only in maybe like the first like 30 or 40 minutes of the movie. But like they basically this of course would be spoilers for a 25-year-old movie at this point, but he's on the team. Basically, they're going after a mysterious briefcase. It's kind of like the MacGuffin that moves the movie along or pushes it along, and he's basically recruited to help them get it. And he basically just proves that he's kind of like somewhat incompetent, and they basically cut ties with him and kick him out of the group. I, for some reason, remembered or thought he was more involved in the movie. I thought maybe he like had like it was like a weird like misremembering it, where I thought he got kicked out of the group by them, and then showed up again later in the film working with like their like competition or something like that, and that ended up not happening. I'm probably confusing him or merging his character and the Stellan Skarsgård's character together, because Stellan Skarsgård does end up betraying them, going into business for himself, and it's basically maybe a little like around the midway point of the movie is Stellan Skarsgård basically gets the briefcase and then switches it and basically takes the briefcase for himself. But basically, you have this team of they're all like ex-military. Some of them, like I think De Niro's like an ex-CIA agent, and they're all kind of just working to basically just get some money. So I think Deidre is the character's name, and let me just bring up her name again. She's played by again Natasha McElhorn. She is kind of the one that's basically in an interview she said she liked the character because it kind of was the character that basically got the plot moving, because he was like, hey, we're going to go after his case, we're going to go here, we're going to get it, or we're going to then the people that we were going after are now in another city, so we're going to go there and follow it. So she's very kind of pivotal in moving the story along. But they all are basically like Skarsgård is like ex KGB, De Niro CIA. I think Sean Bean's character is like a former like British British SAS agent. Jean Reno is like a hired gun as well. He's awesome in the movie, and I think this is like the third movie I have seen him in up to this point. Because the first movie I saw back in 1995, he rented The Professional. A friend and I rented that. He was in that. He showed up like a year after that in the first Mission Impossible film, and then we saw him in this. But one really awesome thing, let me just kind of get a jump around the notes here, kind of out of order, is the suspense in this movie is incredible. Like, there are, like, you never know, like, who's going to try to betray who's working with who, or for, like, what purposes these people are, like, working with each other. The opening scene takes place, or one of the opening scenes takes place in, like a bar. It's in Paris, and people are just sitting around, and the way the camera cuts between the different characters, you can just feel there's this like tension in the air, and the whole movie is just very suspenseful because you don't know like where anybody's actual like allegiance lies. Like you have characters that are kind of like screwing other characters over, Skarsgård specifically. You have characters that are trying to screw over him. You have Jonathan Pryce is basically playing her, like the lady that's pushing the story forward. He's playing her boss. So like there's all these elements in play, and it just creates this huge suspenseful environment. And I'm gonna move it to the car chases. There's like 3 or 4 just really awesome car chases in this movie. The one I remember the most was the one that was kind of like more on the open freeway, because it's kind of like, or the open, there's like, well, 2 freeway chases, or highway chases technically. There's one toward the middle of the film once they actually try to get to the briefcase, and that's where like De Niro's got this cool like grenade launcher, and they're blowing that up, and then at one point De Niro gets shot, and he has to go. He basically gets like, they're hiding with this one guy for like a little bit while he recovers. One scene I remember vividly when I saw the movie was like the one guy that is Jean Reno's kind of like friend, who is I don't remember exactly like what his character like was, but he was like, he had a whole thing, and he kind of explains the story of the 47 Ronin to De Niro's character, and he's painting these miniatures of the 47 Ronin. Like it's got like a big magnifying lamp and like lights, and or like and it's like painting these figurines. And he kind of explains the whole story of the Ronin being, samurai whose master was killed, and then they basically are basically like acting like they're mercenaries for hire, or they some of them just went crazy, and then they were basically plotting like revenge on the person that had like killed their master. That whole bit is in the opening like a little like crawl as well. It's not really a crawl, but it says kind of like explains what Ronin are and how like they were, basically like masterless samurai essentially that became kind of like mercenaries or what have you. Into a quick plot recap. So basically, it starts off in this diner where Deidre's character is there, some other characters are there. De Niro shows up there, Jean Reno's there. They all kind of meet there, and they go back to a warehouse where they are discussing what the plan is to get this briefcase. And that's where Sean Bean's character is, Skarsgård is there. And they basically, first, I think they're just trying to get weapons at first, and they kind of walk into an ambush, or at least Sean Bean's character walks into an ambush, because a car pulls up, Sean Bean counts a bunch of money, says like, hey, like, not all the money's here, and the people that are meeting them are like, well, the other money, the rest of the money is over there, and it's in this like, under this bridge, and there's another car there. De Niro and Jean Reno are walking, and Sean Bean is all gung ho about just going to get this get the rest of this money, and De Niro like stops Jean Reno. He's like, hey, like I got a bad feeling about this. Like let's like like just like kind of like be careful. And De Niro recognizes that they're walking into an ambush. So like a huge gunfight breaks out. They escape. They go back to their kind of like their safe house where they're planning. And there's a diagram of this map on like a whiteboard. And Sean Bean draws something on it. And De Niro, it's like a really cool setup because De Niro like sets a cup of coffee on like a case near a railing. goes up to the board, erases it, kind of gets to Sean Bean's face, and says like, "Hey, draw it again. Like you like there was an ambush like at this point, at this point. Like draw the diagram again. It's not that hard." And then De Niro just starts approaching him, and Sean Bean is like kind of like backing away from him, backs right up into the case, knocks the coffee over, gets burned, and De Niro like pulls a gun on him, and he's like, "Hey, I just ambushed you with like a cup of coffee." Kind of just showing his kind of incompetence or Sean Bean's incompetence, and then they basically the lady that's like running it basically just gives Sean Bean some money, be like, hey, this is like the payment for the rest of your contract for like the amount of time you worked. We're done with you. And for some reason, like I said earlier in the video, I remember Sean Bean being in this movie more than he actually was. So I was kind of surprised when I watched it. And I'm like, oh yeah, he's kind of really not in this movie all that much. The people that are trying to get the case from are now have moved over to a different city, so they track them there. That's where one of the really awesome car chases happens. And there's like a really cool scene. You can't tell what's happening, but like somebody is spraying paint on something. It looks like they're spraying paint over a window to like cover it. It's like silver spray paint, and the briefcase is also silver. So they eventually roll up, get the briefcase. They ambush people that have it, and they end up getting the briefcase. And then somebody takes their hand off the briefcase and notices there's like their hand is now silver, so like it's like or like grayish silver, and they realize that that's a decoy case. So they throw it, it explodes, and then Stellan Skarsgård's character makes off with the actual briefcase and is now kind of in business for himself. He meets up with somebody that is like I think a potential buyer, and like Skarsgård pulls a gun on him. That guy pulls a gun on him, and then he's like, "Hey, give me the case. Like, I got to go to you." The guy's pointing at Skarsgård's character. He's like, "Where's the case?" He's like, "Oh, it's in the seat behind you." And then like Skarsgård, like hits the brake or hits the gas really quick, and the guy's gun goes flying, and then Skarsgård shoots that guy. So basically, you have double crosses happening. After that, they realize that Skarsgård's character has then kind of like screwed them over. So then they formulate a plan to try to track him down. De Niro's character has like a CIA friend that's still around the area, so he gets some help from him. He's like, "Hey, Skarsgård's character is like in I forget the name of the town, but he's in this other area now." So they track him down there. They get ambushed, and this is where De Niro gets like I think he gets shot in like an ambush, and him and Jean Reno then go to his friend's house, who's the guy who's painting all the miniatures. Explains the story of the Ronin kind of thing, and then they figure out where the case is, and like where it's going to, and they realize that it's basically like an ice skate case, and basically the finale of the movie takes place at like an ice skating. It's not a competition. I think it's just like an ice show, and the people that are wanting the case are there. Jonathan Pryce's character shows up there, and just one of my favorite scenes in the movie, like basically, and then it ends up being that I think they get the case, and you never really figure out what's in the case. The case is it's just kind of like I said, the MacGuffin that moves the story along. But one of my favorite parts of the movie, and I was talking to like a friend after like we saw this because I went to like this is my senior year of high school. There's a part where Jonathan Pryce's character kind of gets the drop on De Niro, and he calls. He's like, "Hey, you stupid shite!" Like, and then he's like about to shoot him, and then Jean Reno's character shoots him, and then the movie kind of just goes back to the cafe. It's Jean Reno and De Niro just talking because, like I said, you don't know who's working with who really, or who's potentially going to screw who over. But De Niro and Jean Reno's character are basically on the same side the entire film. But yeah, they're talking to each other, and that's kind of where the film wraps up. Apparently, there were some alternate endings that were filmed that the that test audiences didn't like. One of the alternate endings had so basically Deidre's fate is never really revealed. Like she like kind of like after she's like the script is done of her, she's kind of just out the rest of the film. But she apparently like after Jean Reno and De Niro leave the cafe at the end of the movie, you see her kind of off screen, like or not off screen, but like walking, considering going in there to talk to them, but doesn't, and then like kind of walks past them, gets in her car, and gets ambushed by I think they're like the like I don't know if it's NRA. Let me bring up the actual thing because we can find the alternate ending here. I don't know if it was NRA endings or what the group she was actually working with was. Because there's two alternate endings that were filmed here. IRA. Okay, cool. Like so her group, they roll on her. They basically ambush her, and then it's kind of implied that her character is killed. I think the director actually said that he really liked that ending, but test audiences didn't like it. And then there was another one filmed where it actually shows. She doesn't go. Let me see. There was one that one said it worked for him, and then he liked that ending. The test audiences didn't. And then as De Niro's character and Jean Reno's character leave, the other alternate ending is she kind of is like watching them, gets in her car and drives off. And apparently audiences didn't like that because it felt, according to like the article, felt too Hollywood, like it left it open for a sequel. So they just went with this ending where basically Jean Reno and De Niro basically are like, they kind of basically are like, cool, like we're done, like, and they kind of just are done with their mission and that's it. But the director said he liked the original ending where basically she gets basically captured and then gets killed, but test audiences didn't like it. So, but Ronin is just a really good, really solidly made movie. It's got some really good action in it, and like I said, particularly the car chases are just awesome. There's several of them in the film, and it's definitely worth checking out. Like I said, I watched it on HBO Max recently, but like I also had seen it back in the theater back when it came out. And I think, let me see. I think that's all of the notes. And the quick thing about like the music in the movie is also really good. Jerry Goldsmith did the score for it, and it's got a pretty good score as well. But that's going to do it for this video. I highly recommend checking Ronin out if you can. It's definitely worth watching. Like I said, it's just a little over 2 hours, like 2 hours and 1 minute or something like that. But that's going to do it for now. We'll be back again later in the week with another video. Probably be doing a video game or a computer game of some kind. Don't know exactly what game that'll be just yet. But that's what we'll be doing next. And then we'll be back on schedule doing, like another album, another movie, another game, and so on. And we still have a lot of stuff to get through in this series. So we still have like a lot of other movies and games and albums to talk about. So we'll be doing those in the future. Again, that's going to do it for now. So remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Thanks again. Take care and have a good one.